soap is much more emotional than clothes. I think food is much more emotional than clothes, and I think traveling is very emotional. I think we see currently a shift towards emotional things, and consumer behavior is more about taking care of ourselves.
Yes, and you use it on your skin.
Right.
I mean, that's not many products get to see you naked, so to speak. Honestly, people have not yet quite started to care about themselves that much that they actually think all the way what they put on their skin. It's the largest organ of the body,
Right.
but we still don't think about the chemicals that we are letting seep through the skin. And this is where we think that the change is also happening now.
Today, joining me in the studio are Hanna and Johan Olzon-Åkerström, the founders of the personal care brand Soeder. Back in 2013, the couple started Soeder out of their garage, kicking things off with what's now their iconic natural soap. Fast forward to today, and they're crafting a full range of care products from sanitizers to face creams to lip balms, almost entirely produced in the old repurposed SBB workshop in Zurich Altstetten. They've grown to over 75 employees, run 3 stunning stores in Zurich and Basel, and their products are stocked in dozens of Swiss and international hotels, bars, and restaurants. And if you're flying Swiss, you'll even find Söder above the clouds. Over the past decade, Söder has become a Swiss success story, a bright example of locally made products with a global appeal. And if you ask the two, they're just getting started. Welcome, Hanna and Johan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the humble soap, it's a pretty ordinary and everyday product that I think most people don't think twice about in their life. What made you believe you could turn something so simple and kind of mold it into something that feels different and special, and basically make people care about soap?
Should I
Yes,
start?
you can start.
I don't think it's that simple. I think washing the hands is a simple ritual. I think the product in itself does not necessarily need to be simple. I think this was our approach. In the end, it's a ritual. You wash your hands, and the experience should be sensational. And in addition to this, I think the product should care for you. And most products don't do this. And this was important to us. We decided then to dig into the soap field. What we figured out quite quickly is that soap doesn't exist in our marketplace anymore. So I think this is it's a big difference to the other products in the market. They are synthetic soaps. We do true or real soap. And I think this is a huge differentiator. And all you people out there, when you wash your hands, it's most likely not soap. It's a hand wash, body wash, a synthetic version of soap. And, this is the big difference. Yeah.
Yes, we wanted to make something that is fulfilling a purpose and that makes it better than it used to be. And this is where we realized that the whole ritual of showering or washing your hands and everything, it could actually be more of a attractive and luxurious experience than it is for most people. And uh, like we talked about coffee, me and Johan, we have 3 different coffee machines at home. We care a lot about our coffee, and the beans have to be roasted in a certain way and stuff. You can drink coffee and it's something that gives you the push, or you can drink coffee and really enjoy it. And this is what we wanted to do with soap as well. We wanted to add on this everyday luxury in a product that is just a normal everyday good.
And then what if you say soap does not exist today, right? Like what does that mean? I mean, you just kind of dropped like, okay, most soap is synthetic. You sell natural soap. like, if I'm playing devil's advocate, that could just be like a marketing ploy, but maybe you can illuminate me.
So we need to do a bit of chemistry school.
Yes, please. Periodic table. I don't have it here.
But you said we have 1 hour, huh?
Yes.
So, okay.
No, so the word soap come from the chemical reaction, which is saponification. So when oil and lye meets, they react and they become soap and glycerin. There is no soap without glycerin. This used to be the way we washed ourselves since the Babylonian time, 5,000 years ago. And in the chemical advancement in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the synthetic detergent started to come. This was cheaper to produce. It was also a product which you could protect. So it was interesting for large chemical corporations to do these products.
Like in terms of the recipe.
Exactly. You could then patent this new technology. And of course, it was of interest of selling this because you owned then the product. And as a consequence, this product came into play, and true soap, which was more expensive to produce, then moved out. There is, to be transparent, there's always then some benefits and negatives on the synthetic versus normal soap or true soap. But it then started to disappear, and today it's very difficult to find a real soap in liquid form. In bar form, maybe slightly easier, but in liquid form, it is 99% of the cases no real soap. It's the synthetic version of soap, then a detergent which is reacted with ammonium or sulfates, made by very large corporations, and the producers of these end product, they basically just mix the pre-made substances then.
If we take another step back and think about like the act of actually washing ourselves, like, so what about the natural soap? Why did we use it for such a long time? What basically cleans us within the soap? If we're already talking about soap, what basically cleans us, and why do we use it? And what makes the natural different?
Well, excuse me, the cleaning part of the soap is something that also exists in other cleaning detergents. Of course, you need something that attaches to the water and something that attaches to fat and dirt. And this is a very chemical explanation. Like you have the oils and the lye that combine and make the soap and the glycerin. And the glycerin is something that cares for your skin, and the soap is something that has different qualities depending on what oil made the soap, but it always transports dirt away with water. This was invented or found out, then of course we don't know exactly. It's about 5,000 years ago. One of the hypotheses is that when they were roasting meat over fires, the fat was dripping into the ashes, and this ash fat mixture, they realized, okay, this is actually something that cleans the grease off of our pots and pans afterwards. When I don't really know how that would happen, that you try that, but they did, and this is actually the first remains of soap that we think has happened. That it's natural is just you need fat and lye to make soap. You don't need to have natural oils like we do. But like Johan said, there are pros and cons on both sides. What we think is a huge pro with True Soap is the transparency of the product. We know what the oil is and where it came from and how we use it. And if we would make a synthetic version with premixes, we cannot trace the ingredients all the way.
And we cannot control them. I think for us it's very important then to first make a good product, but then to be transparent and be good making it. So care for biodiversity, which means we want to select oils which are positive, also made organic, not only conventional. and this true soap enables us to do, where a premix does not enable us to do this. Then someone else has procured the materials and we have no control of where they come from.
Is there like a different feel to it? Like, is there something where I can accept the label, where I can see if I use the product, is there a specific difference in the product, in the feel of the product?
Definitely. Soap, true soap is very oily. It feels more like an oil. It's often thinner in viscosity, not so gummy or slimy. It's more oily. You definitely feel a difference. A lot of our customers say they experience like a certain squeak when you when you wash your hands. You feel the squeak, and after you wash yourself, you often feel much softer. You have a softer skin feel. The glycerin kicks in. There's no preservatives drying the skin as well. Soap is self-preserved in the way it's made. So you get this kind of a softer, fluffier skin afterwards.
Especially if you, like us, leave the glycerin in. So the glycerin is actually also, which when it is made through the soap saponification process, it's also raw material that you could sell because it has such good qualities for the skin. But we leave it in and we add some more. And this is, of course, also something that makes the skin feel very, very moisturized and supple. And then we, of course, add some more ingredients to our products to make them have even a more exclusive feel.
And if we listen to you, we are kind of experienced that you became experts in the field of soaps and maybe now personal care and like chemistry and stuff like that. You use terms that a lot of us don't use on a regular basis. How, like, why this? Because if I remember correctly, you started out with a store, so kind of design people, if I can say that. You're kind of designers or like architect, exactly. How did this come about? Like, were you just tinkering on a lot of products and you were like, oh, soap, this makes sense, like there is something there? Like, what happened?
We knew we wanted to produce something from the start, even years before we actually founded the company.
So physical product, first of all.
Physical product,
and fascination for industry as well. Bringing back industry to Europe. Whenever you work with products, it was forced to source from China. It should be cheap. You need to have a markup of 12 times, push down the price. Cannot use this zipper or this button, it's too expensive. Go for a cheaper cloth.
Okay, so physical and premium, that was kind of clear.
Yeah, local production, produce where people consume.
Yeah. We wanted to make something that brings society in general something. Like it's a premium product. Your user everyday life gets a bit of a golden rim on it when you shower with our soaps, for instance. But also, working opportunities and the connection to production, like when you bring your kids to a farm to look at how the cows are fed on the grass, and then they understand, okay, this is what I eat when I eat a hamburger or drink my milk. I think that connection is getting lost, and this we also wanted to like bring back in products. And for that we of course needed to build the factory, because the factory was not existing anymore like this in Switzerland.
But then you first basically sold products that you believed in, but were not necessarily yours. Is that correct?
We were designing and producing with producers that were close to us, like where we built up connections and visited and could like combine our interest in great quality and design with production. But we were not producing everything on our own in the beginning. No.
And then, like, out of this store, you kind of constantly started tinkering with different products. Was that the kind of thing, or was like soap in your heads and then now we're switching from like, I'm kind of looking for this moment of like, okay, you have a store and then you switch to soap production, or was that very fluid?
It was very fluid, and we had a plan. Firstly, we wanted to be self-employed, and we
Okay.
wanted it to be fast. So I think
Why?
we felt we felt the need to work together.
Okay.
We were kind of tired of being limited to do what other people thought was right. You know, the product can cost this, or you're bound to the rules of the company you're working for. We wanted to shape this ourselves. We felt things were changing. Transparency was become more important. People were starting to get interested in organic products, natural products, local produced products. I mean, this is 11 years ago. Was different than to today.
Mm-hmm.
The food industry had already made a step, but on the product it was still quite new. And then to be fast, we said, okay, let's get the store. Let's start designing products. I think in May, something like this, we decided then to. I quit the job first. Hanna still had a job to have an income.
Yeah.
We got the lease for the store, I think, after 2 or 3 months. We started to design products in May. From May to December, we had designed and produced maybe 100 products, something like this.
100.
Furniture, design, clothing.
Okay, so you were on it.
We were on it. And all the first productions, everything was made in Switzerland. We bought some extra products then to made a store concept, and opened in Christmas around 20th to 19th of December 2013.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we always had the wish then to build own industry, and this we then continued to play with during this time. And I think 2 years after opening, we had then the first garage where we started to produce the soap.
But then, like, who were the first? And by the way, if I remember correctly, that as well, you also had kids already then, or you were about to have kids, or?
Our son, Johan has a son from before. He was, school age, closing in on. And then our first son was 1 when we opened the store.
Yeah.
So
He helped painting.
yeah.
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 But it was during the time when he was born that we like really said, okay, now we do it. And then we founded the company, and then we started like the whole process of.
Which is an interesting choice as well, right? Like, a lot of people might say like, oh, that's like, we already have enough to do with.
Have you met us like when we don't have anything to do?
No, like,
you don't want to be there.
okay,
no.
okay. Yes. Yeah. So okay, but you knew you were in this situation. You designed a lot of products. You had kids at home, and you were apparently very eager to get something started. Were you then in the store? You sold soap, and you were like, "Oh, this works," or like, or not at all?
In a way, you're right. We realized certain products bring customers back because they're needed, and we did not sell any food. Food is also something you need constantly.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we were looking for a commodity. We used to call it basics because we wanted products to have a like a kind of this invisible spot in your life, but you still, if it's a good one, we made the best socks, for instance.
Yeah.
Like, and that is also one of these things. If you have a good sock on, you're quite okay during the day. If it's a bad sock, you want to go home after lunch. So this is where we were looking for this this commodity that we could do better than the regular products that were found in the market.
Okay, so the store was already, you were looking for basics and basically products people use every day, which is interesting because I always say as well, things that you use every day, like anything from like your bed sheets to like the how do you call this in English, shower brush.
Okay. Okay,
shower,
yeah.
shower brush. if you have a good one, it makes a huge difference. And basically, that was your thing also, kind of for reusable things as well, like socks and
Yes.
soap, and so you didn't have food, but food would be something. Okay, so you were inspired by everyday commodity goods and how you could make them better, but you saw in the store people were coming back for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, it's a different quantity as well. And if you want to build a production, you need a certain size.
Yeah.
So we saw there was a need. And during that time, there was a lot of other companies coming. Coffee roasteries was popping up. There was bakeries popping up, breweries popping up. So there was a lot of things happening, and we saw, okay, but no one is making home care or care products for the everyday use. And what's around is not that exciting or not so sustainable.
Maybe before we come to then this kind of startup phase, are care products in the same kind of vicinity in terms of emotionality than something like clothes and food, or is it more like in the background, just in general when people buy something like soap or personal care products?
I think soap is much more emotional than clothes. I think food is much more emotional than clothes, and I think traveling is very emotional. I think we see currently a shift towards emotional things, and consumer behavior is more about taking care of ourselves. I think the clothing industry, in my opinion, has been suffering a bit from this since the corona. No, I think it's extremely emotional. It can be very emotional.
Yeah.
I think when we started, it was still quite often you went to a restaurant and you pushed and you got some pink stuff out of the soap dispenser.
Yeah.
Your experience at the toilet was not so pleasant, didn't smell nice, but I think it can be very pleasant, and this is what we tried to do, and this I think is very, very emotional.
Yes, and you use it on your skin.
Right.
I mean, that's not many products get to see you naked, so to speak. So it's it's kind of you need to. Honestly, people have not yet quite started to care about themselves that much that they actually think all the way what they put on their skin. It's the largest organ of the body,
Right.
but we still don't think about the chemicals that we are letting seep through the skin. And this is where we think that the change is also happening now. But people start actually wondering why they should not get the same kind of treatment for the outside of the body like for the inside when you buy your bio vegetables and things like this. So in the food industry, the care has started earlier, and now it's coming to the cosmetic industry.
Would you say personal care products from a psychological side, or like, are you fulfilling an existing need, or is it as soon as you experience a better way, a better feel, is it kind of something people need to discover? Or you know what I mean? Like, are people grossed out by gooey pink soap? Or do they immediately understand when you say like, oh no, we have different soap? They get it, or they need to kind of discover it in a way. You know
It's
what I
a
mean?
training part of your self also.
It's an experience, I would
Yeah.
say. The first time people came to the lavatories when we had the soap, they reacted. I mean, we
Yeah.
work with restaurants and bars. When they got to the toilet, they pushed the dispenser, they washed their hands, and said, "Wow, what happened? Something happened. This is different. My experience is different." And I think this triggered something. It's like, okay, this can be a nice experience. I think we didn't expect it to be a nice experience in the past. And
No, and we have also trained ourselves to not react to products that don't give us that feeling. It's the same when you like the coffee thing again. If you drink bad coffee for many years, you get used to it and it's fine, and you learn that I'm not going to react to that experience. But once you start drinking the really good coffee, you actually realize, okay, this is what I want to have, and most roads then don't lead back to the bad coffee. So we have very loyal customers that would not switch back, or would not switch back to something that is less giving them less experience than washing with a natural true soap.
And we are making sure people have a good skin and not having dry skin. I think this is the performance of the product is I think the main aspect. Of course, you first had the sensation, you try it the first time, and then you start showering with the product, and you notice then, hey, I have a better skin. I'm not dry anymore. So it's sensation. It's also then performance, and of course then the transparency and the ecological aspect and the health aspect as well. Then not having dangerous preservatives and so forth is also then relevant for the customers.
And if we go to your garage, like, was your first prototype, so to speak, did it already have these properties that you were just talking about? Like, is that a function of natural soap per se, or how much has the recipe developed, let's say, or did you have this wow effect with your friends already in a way?
It's not necessarily that all natural soaps are great in the experience. It's definitely a recipe thing. And before we went into the garage, we were cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So that was probably, I'm not sure, a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months,
So 6 months even.
6 months cooking, and like trying it out on our kids, on ourselves, and then we went into the garage.
Yeah, I think the golden rule is don't release a product which is not good. If you have a good product, it sells the next product. And we really spent a lot of time looking at the few true soaps which exist in the world. There's some producers in the world, mostly in America,
Of liquid true soap.
with true soap.
Yeah.
And we looked at what was on the market and said, okay, how can we bring this into a contemporary stand and make it better, that really take care of the body? And I think the misconception with soap is that it's supposed to wash, and that's true. But I think the most important thing is should condition ourselves. We are an organism. We need to be taken care of. The skin is very, very fragile.
Can you explain that?
The conditioning,
Yeah.
of course, we need to emulgate and we need to clean. And I think
What does emulgate mean?
emulgate means
This is why you need me often. Like I'm translating.
Yes.
so to remove dirt, we need to capture it, and this is that, or fat, for example.
Okay.
And soap was the first substance invented by man who could rinse away fat, for example.
So it extracts.
It captures.
It captures.
It captures. It rinses away, or it captures fat and changes the friction that we can remove dirt.
Yeah.
But mostly then fat we could not remove in the past, right? If you have fat on your skin, you can't wash that away with water. Washing is one thing, and we wash different things. We wash ourselves, but we also wash the floor, or maybe the car or the bicycle and other things. And I think what you wash is relevant. When we wash the floor or the car, we want to wash it extremely hard, right? We want to get everything away. But we as humans, we have skin, and skin is a couple of layers of different elements which protects us from the outside world. And when we are removing this protection, we don't have a protection to the things around us, and we get dry skin and we get wounds and so forth. So we need to take care of our skin and wash it as little as possible, or as much as needed, but as little as possible, and then rather conditioning in it. And I think we often then add lotions and a lot of other products to our skin because it's dry, and similar to putting a Band-Aid on a wound doesn't solve the problem, right? It's something which is necessary. And
if I understand you correctly, it's more than washing away the dirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So our soap does, it leaves you a protective layer afterwards. So I think a lot of talking about what's different in the feeling, when you wash yourself, then you feel there's some people say, okay, there's something left on my skin.
Yeah.
Like I'm not clean, or what is
Yeah.
this? And it's like, yeah, this is a good thing. You actually have a protective layer on your skin. This will avoid moisture to leave your skin. If moisture leave your skin, you get dry. What makes us old is moisture leaving our skin. We get dry. We get a crack in the skin. We get a wrinkle. Keeping moisture in is keeping ourselves young and keeping the skin in good condition. That's what we want to do, and that's conditioning the skin.
And then while you kind of created this recipe or these recipes, how do you go about it? I mean, did you before kind of, I don't know how to say that, engage in chemical
studies,
potion making?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I mean, was it a lot of trial and error? Was it studying up a lot? Like, how does that work? Or is soap a simple enough product, anyways?
No, it's not simple. I think to make true soap is rather difficult, actually, if you want to make a good one. It was a combination: reading, studying. There's 5,000 years of history. So looking into this, and then trying, of course, then especially the dermatological aspect, and to try what feels good on the skin, when does it leave me dry, which pH value should I hit, and so forth. This is then was a lot of trial, but also a lot of science.
When did you know you had a good product? So, I mean, when did you move from the kitchen to the garage? Like, was this your friends were asking you, "Hey, where's my soap? My soap is," or like, how do you go from this is kind of cool to let's buy some containers kind of situation, right?
Well, we did try it out on ourselves, so of course we felt that this actually works really well. We talked to others to get input. We also felt the urge to take the next step, so we're kind of fast movers on things like that.
Yeah, but it took 6 months, and it's really trying. And at one point, you say, "Shit, this is really good."
Yeah.
But until feeling that, we kept on working. I think this was 6 months of development, and
Yes.
and then scale up is interesting. Then the next aspect comes of going from kitchen 100 milliliter or 1 liter sampling, then to scaling up to mass producing.
So the garage you would call mass production at that stage already.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would, yeah. Even though filling by hand and making 100 liters maybe is not in the same perspective as today, but
yeah, but you can't go from the kitchen to your own factory, right?
no, exactly.
That's,
But it was a fact. It was a small one. It was a garage factory.
Yeah. And it also makes for a good story too, if you're first in the garage. But I mean, okay, so you had the product, and then when you have the product and you know it's good and you get good feedback, like what's the next step? I mean, you had the store still, right, where you sold products. What was strategically now the next things that were important?
I don't know if it was strategically or if it was necessary.
Yeah.
We had the plan to launch the product, but all of these steps comes unnatural. And because we were working so much, when you get into this startup phase, you have so little time.
Yeah.
And we generally say 100% forget it. It's no way you can do 100% of what you should be doing, because you're running so fast and you need to survive as well. So generally, you can do 70% of everything you need, of what you should be doing, and you need to choose then the most important things. So in this stressful situation, we have a product. Okay, now we need to produce the product. So how can we get machines without having money? What machines do we need to have to produce the products? How can we fill the product? So first step, we bought a machine, second-hand tank from some second-hand dealer, which we needed to fix when we received it. So we needed to rebuild the machine, and then we started to try to produce on larger scale, 100 liters. And back then we didn't even add heating on the tanks. We need to use the energy from the chemical reaction to kind of stay warm enough to produce. So it was very stressful. We had like around 20 minutes then to complete the first stages of production, because then we lost too much energy, which was kind of interesting. So to this, we also developed different ways of producing the soap than maybe a conventional producer would do.
Because you had to.
We had to.
Yeah.
We had too little money to have something more fancy, so
Right.
this was it. And after another 6 months of testing on how to produce in larger scale, then we managed to master this. And then the next thing comes, okay, now we need to fill the product. So then,
But was it for you always clear that you go into people's homes? Or, because I mean, how I know a lot of people, because I asked, kind of discovered Soeder was more in like the bars and cafes, like the cool ones, here in Zurich. And you're like, oh, what is this? Was this part of the strategy immediately, or like what?
No.
Yeah.
Our thought was to get it directly to the end consumer. That was from the beginning how we were working, and
so direct to consumer was always
that was the way we were working on. And we the first soaps, we were lucky enough that friends of ours started this fancy Christmas Weihnachtsdorf.
Oh yeah, sure.
At the exact time when we were going to launch our soap, so we said, okay, then we go there and we try to sell them, because that's probably a great way. And we sold out very, very fast. So then we knew, okay, this actually has some traction. And then we also have friends in the gastro scene, and they were also interested. So it was not really a strategy, but kind of a friendly way of saying, hey, let us show our product here, and you have some soap in your bathroom that is better than what you had before. And
it's very natural development. And they're like, yeah, your soap smells good. Can we not have one? And then I think it was Zukunft Bar 3000. Okay, we have a bar. Can we do something with the bar?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
So we're kind of like clubs, the first ones. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. The Christmas.
We were young back then,
Yeah, but like, so like the people who are at Zukunft, for me, immediately were not the first ones that are like, oh yeah, I recognize the difference in the soap. Which is interesting.
But the owners, they recognized.
Yeah, this is nice. So we made a gin-based soap then with
oh, that was a very nice soap.
It's a nice scent. So we did that for them.
So
put
it was
in
like
there.
rosemary, or what was it?
No,
or like
gin.
Gin.
The juniper berries.
Yeah, juniper. Sorry. Yes.
Exactly. And then some other friends came. They were opening a new restaurant. I think it was Bank back then on the Helvetiaplatz, which was close to the store. So like,
it was the same guys as the Weihnachtsmarkt at the time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then
before it got sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did that for them. We did a soap for them, and then the snowball just started. So we didn't actively sell in the beginning. I think we were simply trying to produce them to the demand, which constantly came to us. And I think this was the first 6 years. We just answered the telephone or the email and said, okay, we will do this. So we didn't actively sell. It just the market came to us.
I mean, the interesting thing, the past episode that got released this week was from Jens Jung, from the can I say John Baker and Jung Bakers and so forth, and he also with bread kind of has a commodity product in a way, right? I mean, you eat bread. We talked about coffee.
We talked to him a lot also about
really?
commodities, and
it makes a lot of sense. Like I definitely see the kind of parallels, because also when I wrote the description for the podcast episode, it kind of dawned on me that I had instances where I walked around Zurich and then I saw restaurants that basically said, hey, we have John Baker bread. And which made me have a higher affinity for the restaurant, which is insane, right? It's like the brand he made out of the bread was such high quality and had such a some people had such a high affinity to it that even if it's just associated with the restaurant, it means to me that if they sell this kind of product, they have almost the same values attached. And now that I think about it, it's kind of similar sometimes with your soap. Like, I'm not sure if it was, are you at, Which cafes are you at in Zurich? Because I was
Very many.
yeah, okay. Because I recently was at a cafe and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like I can see Soeder.
Mhm.
So it has a similar effect to me. Like they care. That's
Yes.
basically what it means. They
Yes.
care.
But we grew up together. I mean, that's what I said before. A lot of people started to roast good coffee, bake good bread.
Yeah.
So I think it was a movement of increasing everyday quality.
Yeah.
And of course, then we shared values. I mean, there was a lot of good breweries as well, and a lot of good restaurants who started. So
Yeah.
I think it's a bit growing up together, sharing values.
Well, I mean, what I loved about Jens's from John Baker, when I asked him what his vision was, it was actually not at all about his stuff. It was just have better bread,
Yes.
like
Exactly.
basically everywhere. And he
Yes.
works with basically competitor bakeries and stuff like that. So, which I thought is genius on all sides, right? Because you basically cannot lose in that sense. You are creating a new standard, and that's like it has some parallels here, because while bread might have had a bit of a earlier renaissance than maybe
Yeah.
personal care, like it as you said, like food was a bit earlier. It seems to me that personal care, like you talk a lot about emotions, which is funny because I was always the guy who bought like the X normal shower shell, whatever, and even when you think about it, anyways, long story short, like, so you basically were at the garage, you produced out of there, people started coming to you, and then you started to expand. One story that I still like, and which we discussed before as well, was this, where you also said like where you were proud of yourself and Hanna at the time, that you took the leap when Swiss came to you with this kind of huge deal. I mean, it was a big deal. Since you already were able to tell the story, maybe Hanna can tell the story in that sense, how you experienced
Yes.
it.
Yes. Well, with Swiss, it was us at the beginning of this soap journey. We were figuring out how to navigate the market, and we were still very much just focusing on end consumer direct sales and the production on our side. And then they came and said, yeah, since you're the experts in natural care, can you help us out to change our onboard products? And I don't say that this is necessarily my drive. I think it's very much in Johan's area to say, I want to be able to do this, so I'm gonna do this. And he always has me as a backup because I think this guy is amazing. So when he said we can deliver 1 million products a year to Swiss, we can learn how to navigate this new tube machine that we have to still source and install, and of course we can reformulate a recipe and make it all natural and make it better than what they have. Then we said, yes, okay, let's do this. And it was the beginning of something that has really made us stronger, in the sense that we realized, okay, this is not something that is just for small direct sales to end consumer. Our door at the store, then Ankerstrasse, is too little. We need to think a bit bigger, and this is the steps of the ladder that you take as an entrepreneur. You need to, like, if you just stay on one level and you're fine with it, then the entrepreneurial spirit kind of like fades away and you become a producer. But to take this next step, it was important for us in that stage, and they have continued to throw balls at us that has made us take another step on the
Level up
ladder.
in a way, right?
Yes.
Can you paint for us the picture, like where exact were you when they approached you, and where did you need to be you know, like just to understand the gap.
Yeah. So we were doing around 200 products a day, more or less hand filling when they came to us. We had a product portfolio, maybe 3 products, and they wanted us to formulate maybe with all the special 5 products or something like this.
On top of what you had, or like including the products?
No,
that you
no,
had?
on top.
On top.
And they wanted to have then 1 million pieces delivered in 9 months.
In a packaging that we had never
In a packaging we
worked with.
never worked with, and with products we needed to develop and test. So it was, I would say, any normal producer would have said no.
Right. No, because it can kill a business as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
but we didn't have that much to kill back then.
Yeah.
Today it would be.
But still your baby in a way, right?
Yes.
No, but I think you need to be, as an entrepreneur, you need to, of course, you calculate the risk and you need to assess it. And we did, and it's a large company. They also have a certain price pressure.
Yeah.
So we did calculate it, but you need to take some risk, otherwise you won't grow, right? If you let your business, if we wouldn't have chosen to be self-employed, we would still be employed.
Yeah.
If we did not take the risk to make a product, we would not have done so. And if we did not believe we could scale, we would have said no to Swiss. I think this is entrepreneurship, and you need to take some risks, but of course you need to calculate. You need to put your balls on the table and
And we say the fish.
Yeah.
A bit of put the fish on the table.
Yeah.
I mean, are you at that stage, basically? In German we say Auslegeordnung, right? Well, no, actually I learned that this just in Switzerland you say that. It's fun. Which kind of fits the Swiss ethos a bit. No, but like, I mean, how do you approach something like that? Because you say 9 months, and we're talking about packaging, we're talking about R&D and product development, we're talking about probably like also scaling production in some form, right? I mean, 1 million is not, very little. Like the day you signed this thing, like how do you approach something like that? It's a huge step.
Very rational.
Okay.
You
break it down.
You start from the end date, then you break it down. When do I need the machine? How much do I need to produce per day to manage the cost and delivery targets? When do I need to have my formulations ready?
And this was all smooth? Like, was this like a smooth 9 months in a way?
Was not smooth. It was 16 hours a day, but I guess it's.
In the end, we ended up driving the first batch onto the track where the planes were.
The gate gourmet, we delivered straight.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It went through the building onto the plane and left.
Yeah.
Just in time delivery.
You're like,
so
bye bye.
Exactly. No. Today we have a lot of projects going on, and back then it was not that complex. I mean, we had a lot of going on, but we were not that many people to manage, and that was, in that sense, it was easier to be fast. The decisions were taken in a minute instead of now maybe it takes 2-3 days to get everybody on board and decide the strategy and take the next step. And so we were just extremely fast in our decision taking back then.
And also, I mean, it needs to have a certain confidence in your ability to execute, right? In a way.
Yeah.
I mean, did you prove that to yourself? Like also to each other, right? I mean, you need to have confidence in yourself, but also in the other person. Like, did you have enough experience that both are going to be pulling through, or like how did that unfold?
This is one of our strengths, I think, that we do believe in the capacity of the other, and we do know that we can do big things together,
and we don't overlap competence. So we share competence. You do that, I do this. Hanna has always been then the heart of the brand and done the design, and I always been then working on the product and production. I think this makes it very efficient.
So this was clear. It was not like, because you also have some design roots, you were not like, I would like to do a little bit of design.
No.
Like full
but
trust.
We talk about it. Yeah, I mean, we talk about it and get the feedback and input. But we're this is also something that works very well with us, that we share values, but we also share design understanding and quality understanding.
Yeah.
And then we kind of know, okay, Johan is going to like this, and he and the other direction knows when I'm gonna be satisfied. So that's because if he's satisfied, then probably I like it too, kind of.
So you have the same standards in a way as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same vision, same standards.
Yeah.
And as a couple, you are together all the time. And when you work, so we have a 16 to 20 or 18-hour workday every day.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, this is the
Still
work.
had to this day.
Yeah, of course. I mean, as long as we're awake, we do work. And
Yeah.
if we have an idea, we share the idea. We say in the bedroom, maybe that's where it stops. But
Right. So you need to have some boundaries. Like, are those boundaries, are they very set? Are you like, whether it's the bedroom or like, I don't know, at 10 every
No.
evening, like how do you circumvent that you're not completely drowning in the thing, or is that not even something that you want at all? Like, is this your life if you want? Yeah.
It's definitely our life.
Yeah.
But and it's not clear
Mhm.
rules. But then if it's someone when I say, hey, now I'm finished for today,
Yeah.
then that's respected, and the other mostly we respect it. But if something is really urgent, it's like, yeah, I need to share this, then so it's up and down, I would say. Sometimes you have a lot of energy, and other days you just don't, and then you need to kind of feel the room.
Mm. So you're kind of attuned to each other in that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
you need to learn this. In the beginning, it's of course then the only way to move the needle is then to work. And of course, when you have a large organization, there's also other people who work.
Yeah.
Then you can slow down a bit. In the beginning, you just need to run all the time.
Right.
But like I said, I mean, we have kids and we have other things going on, but we still have our heads on our body all the time. And what's happening in there is that things are continuing, of course, and we don't need to sit at a computer and work to be working. So that's of course something that happens when you're a doer.
I mean, what I'm hearing as well is like you have a huge competitive advantage because you are much faster in taking decisions because you're all just together all
sorry.
the time. That was a glass. No worries. So you have a competitive advantage because you are together all the time and you can talk things through all the time. Because you know, in a different kind of co-founder situation, you'll be like, don't call me at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Like that's weird, man. I'm like with my kids. But here it's a different thing, right? You're like, hey, by the way, do you think about that? Or he shows each other something. Like what is, would you say that's true, or is it
Absolutely
if you talk
true.
to others?
Absolutely true.
Okay.
And I think also the commitment is different, right?
Yes.
We are so committed to each other and the work. There's just no other option.
Mm-hmm.
And I could imagine then if you're partners, you have two separate lives, and maybe the vision changes after a while, and maybe share everything, the holiday planning,
Right.
so we can also work together during holiday, right? So it's
Yes, I mean, this was that is for once, like we do bring our work into our free time, of course, but today we also have a big great team of like really super people that we try to not call at 10 o'clock at night. Of course, it's not always the truth, but you need to start sharing after a while to be able to build it. And this has also been one of these steps, or a few of these steps, when we have expanded the organization to share the responsibility and the strategic thinking and all this. So this has changed us, and this also, of course, changes our way of working together. But still, the vision and the mission is very strongly in our core, and this is something that we can discuss also after 10 o'clock
Right.
at night.
Was it hard for you to let go a little bit and involve other people?
Not in the sense that it's difficult to let go, but you need the right person
Right.
to let it go to.
Mm.
Yeah.
no, I really like to let
Yeah, no, because it's
responsibility.
very different. Like some people, they cannot grow because they cannot let go.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I absolutely like this, and Hanna needs to speak for herself. But I think it's for me, it's always been easy.
Yeah.
But then, as Hanna said as well, and it's if it doesn't work, you need to get back in there again. So,
Yes.
who can you let go to, and to find the right and good people? As always, it's been a long journey, then, and as a early startup, you can't pay salaries really.
Yeah.
This is then, I think this is a huge challenge. How do you build a super team when you do not have money? It's tricky.
What do you look for? Because as you said, like both of you, you're very entrepreneurial, you're very fast, you're very high energy in terms of, or you have a lot of energy. But obviously, then you start having employees. You've been employees yourselves. What are you looking for in people that can make something that has this high standards, but also wants to grow fast at the same time? What kind of people do you need for something like that?
Depends on the phase you're in. I think this is interesting for us. Now we're entering a very high level professionality phase.
Like operations and stuff like that.
Yeah, finance, everything needs to be very, very precise. But in the early stage, I would say the very important thing is to look in the drive of the people, the learning ability, intelligence. Then, and you see then if the person has these abilities, the CV doesn't need to be that great, right? I think there was Levi's who discovered this back in the days when diesel was just running them flat. They're like, how can we have the best people in the world? Why are we not winning? They had the best CVs in the world, but maybe they didn't have the most driving people then who were able to change the market. And I think having people with high learning ability, high drive, high responsibility feeling is important. And in the early stages, it's always important. But in the later stage, you can also hire the good CVs. In the early stage, you really need people who pushes, are responsible, and then also learns and get into it. And you can have fantastic young people. Exactly.
Yeah. But also today we feel that this the drive that that people can bring in when they come into a company and they really believe in what we stand for and what we want to do, then that gives me energy to go to work again. So we have a pretty amazing team with a lot of energy givers also, and that's something that is necessary for us to be able to continue on this speed that we're on.
How did you? Were there moments in this kind of scaling journey where you had conflicts within yourself to stay kind of true to some values that you put down? Because I mean, you share the values. Were there some hard decisions that you had to make because of that?
Not really. No, I think this is the moment where you lose your brand. I think you need to be convicted of having, at least if you're a sustainable brand or a transparent brand or a value-based brand as we are, you need to be so focused on staying that. Otherwise, your competitive edge is gone.
Is that a hard thing, or is that a, because your answer seemed also like a little bit heady, like in terms of like this is how it should be. Is this like, when you take these kind of decisions, is this like a sheet of paper with values, or is this almost like table stakes in the sense, like, is it a rational thing or is it an emotional thing, how you just described it? Because in the end, if somebody comes to you and says like, hey, we would really like you to do X, and you're like, ooh, that would be like 2 million, that would be great.
Yeah.
But then you cannot do it. Are you going to your head or are you going to your heart in that sense? You know what I mean?
We stick into the rule. I think it's the rule comes from our conviction and emotional.
And it's not driven by money per se.
Yeah.
Of course, the company needs to make money because we can't pay salaries if we don't make enough. But we have said no to things.
So to answer, I think we were passionate about something. We decided to do it out of this passion. This passion converted then into set of rules which is needed to follow this path. And of course, when you have 75 employees, they need to know what they can and cannot do. So everything we do then pass through a filter, which is our values. And yes, when we had a hotel recently and came and said, look, we would like to have this perfume we developed in these amenity products in our hotel. And we said, sorry, we can't use your perfume, it's synthetic. And then, of course, the sales department says, oof, this is a couple of 100,000. Oof.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but if the moment we do this, our trustworthiness and is gone. This is the reason why people want to work with us. And in the end, hotel came back and said, okay,
Then
we
you
understand. We want natural perfume. Can you develop it for us? And we said, sure.
Right.
We developed the perfume natural, and then we deliver. So everyone's happy. But I think if you don't stick to the rules, then we will lose the trustworthiness. And I think there's a reason why people are buying our products, being it hotel, airlines, or end customers. They want to trust the brand, I think.
Yes, I mean, everybody wants to be able to trust people and brands and in general the world. And Johan and me, we need that also for our drive to continue. Like, we need to trust ourselves what we're doing.
And do you have, you kind of talked about these values. If we, can you share some of those values, like explicitly, of the ones that kind of carried you to where you are today?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Should I?
So I can start. We're probably going to think of more. But I mean, for one, that we produce out of natural ingredients. So the base of our ingredients is also always coming from nature. This is a very strong value, and
100% natural, not
Yes.
92, not 87,
Yes.
or whatever you read on packaging, like 100%.
that's what Johan mentioned before. If you add a synthetic perfume into a product, it's not 100% natural anymore. We don't do that. So that's something that is really in the core. We want to be our own producer. We don't give out the production of anything of the product. That is of course something that also stops us certain times because we don't have the machine or we don't have
Need to
the
scale all
setup.
yourself, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And this is of course very investment intense, and also if you, which we of course then also do, like source new machines and build up a new production line to be able to do this product. Like for bar soaps, for instance, we were doing an old version cold process bar soap for a few years, and it's very time intense, and it's not optimal for delivering big clients. It takes too much time, it takes too much handwork, and it gets too expensive. So we decided we had to change this and buy a production line. But if you do bar soap in a machine, then you need to the industry says you need to buy the certain flakes that works for this machine. And we said, well, the flakes are not made with us, so that's not going to happen. And then the second part is the bar soaps in general are 80% palm oil, and we don't want to use that in our soap. And then we started figuring out how, because we want to deliver bar soaps to our hotel clients that really need this. And then it took like a 4-year journey to get there. But the philosophy and the vision behind the brand was stronger than the fast way of making bar soap, which was gonna also maybe make a good product, but it was not going to be under our values, so it was not part of the program.
Yeah, of course, and also consumer safety is important to us. I think the cosmetic industry, similar to the textile industry, is very rough. There's a lot of stuff which is allowed, which is not healthy. There's very low transparency. So consumer health is important. So we make sure that the products are safe. We preserve them then naturally with weaker acids, similar to food industry. And transparency, not hide anything. And then we're also working on tools then to be able to visualize this for the customers. Transparency is extremely important, and through visualizing what you do, you also force yourself internally to do the right thing, because everything unpleasant will be shown.
Yeah, I love that about this transparency value. It's kind of like a forcing function.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a forcing function because you expose everything. You are exposed, so
Yeah.
you're like you try to do your best at all times, right? And
You can always
it
be
keeps
better.
you honest.
Yeah, you
Yes.
can always be better. So you will always see the least pleasant part will always be visible, and you will
Yeah.
always work on removing that to look better than to the outside. So it works inwards and it works outwards.
And now you mentioned one other of our philosophy rules is the honesty. What we do, we want to tell, but we don't want to make it bigger or smaller than it actually is. So that is something that we talk on all levels. I mean, direct to consumer, but also internally in our conversations with each other. Like we should not be playing a theater in front of each other. We should be honest and direct, and that is also something that like nurtures the culture that we are trying to achieve in our company.
Yeah, and reduce. Reduction is also, I think, in our society very important. Refill is important. So if we can reduce, let's reduce. Have one good packaging you can use 100 times and refill to reduce. Yeah.
Did all of those principles emerge, or like naturally, and you kind of wrote them down with time because you needed to, because it was probably not in the hearts already of people that joined? Or was there like a decision at some point when you were developing these hundreds of products before the soap? Like, was that always there?
Yes.
The values were always there.
Okay.
We didn't really need to. We did write them down, and we did our keynotes and so
Yeah.
together. But since we were the only ones working, we didn't really need to make a employee guideline.
No.
And at one point, then today, then it's necessary to educate. And of course, it goes into small things like what do we do with? Do we have a compost? What happens to the barrel after we filled? Can we fly, or do we need to use the ship? Things like this. And at some point, you need to narrow it down then into details to have a discussion about it. Because if we are 2 out of these 75 people and there are 73 others, then need to get guidelines. And if you came from a completely different type of company before, you might then need some training to get into this way of thinking. And of course, for sales then, which is opportunistic, sometimes it's difficult then to say, yeah, we should have this, the competitors have this, scented candles, for example. But since it's almost impossible to make a natural scented candles, we don't do this, for example.
We're still trying though.
There is new innovations, but it's essential oils burn at a too low rate. That means the scented candles have synthetic scents. We don't want that.
How do you think about outside money? Like, how do you, because what if it's completely yours, you can, the buck stops with you. Like, you can always say no or yes. How do you think about outside money? Like, a lot of time, especially in startups, like at some point you are faced with the decisions, and I think you've been faced with the decision as well. Like, how do you think about that? Like, what goes through your minds?
You need to be a team, and if it's 2 people, 10 or 30, as long as you're a team, it's gonna bring you ahead. And we had no money when we started, so we decided to put the team together already, and we have never regretted being part of something that is not just us. We thrive from also the ideas, and this is more worth than the money. You need the money, you need to invest to be able to take next steps, especially when you have a production, when it's not just about your thoughts in the head, but you actually need to have a machine or a tank that can do the next product. But the people that we get on board, what they say to us and what they discuss with us, that is the real big value.
And when you choose a partner, and of course, I guess it depends. Are you interested in the quality of the brand you built as an entrepreneur, or are you interested in money? I guess this makes a big difference.
Right.
If you're interested in quality, you choose a partner then which you believe shares the values. Of course, this is relevant, and for us, this has been extremely relevant through the time. Only to choose partner who has a feeling and understanding for what we want to do. And I truly believe if we would stop being true to our values, a lot of the charisma of the brand would go away. I think that we've seen this with a lot of brands. We experience this a lot as well. Inside the company, there is a lot of mergers of larger cosmetic brands which are being sold to larger clients, and hotels, for example, then calls us and say, look, we used to have this brand, they are now sold to a larger group. We don't want it anymore. We would like to have your amenities, for example. So there is definitely consumers look what's going on, and consumers are better informed. And I think people like a nice story, a good product, and want to trust a brand. And you probably don't trust these very large corporations.
And I mean, how did your job change now? Because I mean, you have partners, you have employees, you have internationalize, you have some products you now go to the US as well, right? And within Europe, and I think in Denmark, you're in the 25-hour hotel and so forth. So you internationalize, but also there is the aspect of the product line. I mean, basically on all sides, you are getting bigger.
Yeah.
Like what do you see as your individual missions? Maybe both of you individually. Like what do you bring to the business at this stage?
That was our discussion just before we entered.
Yeah, I think it's a very important discussion, and of depending on what your background is as an entrepreneur, then you have done what is happening currently, or you've been to this stage before, you haven't been to this stage before. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are discovering life new every day. And I think for me, talking for myself, I think I'm a product person, and I feel too far away from product, for example, in the growth of the company. I want to be closer to product again. And I think my contribution is making great products who are different to what's in the market and challenging the contemporary situation. And I think I make a lot of good value there. Maybe less in other places. And I think this is then the psychology play we need to do with oneself then in this growth phase. And things, as you said, they're changing dramatically. And at one point, it's a large operation.
Yes, I think it comes back to your question before, if it's easy to hand over to other people. And there it's to understand what you can still bring yourself. This is our baby, but the baby is kind of like growing into a teenager, and then it's allowed to change in certain directions. We did not think we were going to sit here 10 years ago, where we are today with 75 employees. It's quite a different place than we thought this was going to end up in. It's a very good place. And we also, if we don't grow, what difference do we make? You need to put a good product out there for people to use, because otherwise, yeah, you can just keep on cooking your own soap at home, and that's going to be fine. We want to make a difference, and this is where I also see I want to be part of the keeping on the vision and the mission. And then there are other parts that don't have that much of an impact on the everyday life of people and we're in the finding phase a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, how did you have to change personally? Like, if we talk about not professional growth, but like personal growth, what needed to happen from like 2013 shop Ankerstrasse to today? Like, who are the people that you've become, or is it very much the same? No, because I have
Yeah.
seen it personally a lot. Like, if you're working at a company that is very small, and then you grow and your responsibilities grow and your skill set grows and all of that, like to handle that, but also to kind of learn how to handle your emotions and all of that. It's yeah, how did you evolve personally, if you would have to say?
I would say I have not changed very much,
Uh-huh.
which is sometimes also maybe strange, but I have definitely had to learn to take the front seat. This is something I was not doing before we entered our own business, and also to be more exposed than I was used to. Like it's not a dream of ours to be on the front cover of a magazine, but we need to take that position within our company because that's who we are in that company. We would never be here without the team. But you somehow need to be able to take your role once it's presented. But I'm still quite stubborn and passion driven.
Yeah. I think if in the beginning you go back to the roots, I guess, at least if you worked in a company, you made some kind of career, you go back in the roots and you need to work with the screwdriver and you need to open the store in the morning and you need to scrub the floor. And then at one stage you maybe get back to a similar role and then all of a sudden you're doing investor relations and things like this. So it absolutely changed. And personally, I think I miss the hands-on a little bit. We are, I think, thinkers, and most entrepreneurs are thinkers, as well, not thinking, but tinkering. And I guess that's what entrepreneurs generally do well. And at one point, there's a lot of management, and there's a lot of calculation, there's a lot of planning, which is good for streamlining, but maybe does not bring the success or the competitive edge. And I think that's entrepreneurs should be working on the competitive edge. And it's easy to lose the ability to do so if you're managing 90% or 100% of the time.
So what's the conclusion of that? Like,
we're working on the conclusion of that. But I want to be closer to what I think makes a difference, and that's product, for example. I don't feel that I need to do as much management and planning as I do today. And we have we're sitting in the board of you all of a sudden you have a company,
Right.
you're in a board
Right.
with other people.
It sounds fancy. Yes.
Yes.
and
But
you
it's
then
not.
in the management of the company as well. And I want to be closer to product. We will see.
Yeah.
We are discovering this new phase, and we are talking about.
After a certain time of many hats, you need to kind of like dress your wardrobe down to who you actually are. You can't run with 10 hats every day for a certain amount of time. Like you need to not slow down, but like focus more, and that's where we are today.
What are some of the big milestones that lie ahead for you?
Well, we have some amazing product launches, which is going to be really exciting. Like where we, in my opinion, can do what we did with the soap and the hand sanitizer again. So these products that really make a difference.
Yeah, and making everything compact. I think scalability is a lot of being compact as well to make it efficient. So working a lot of the store concept, making sure that's exciting. I think retail has changed dramatically since we started. When we started and the concept store were coming up, retail was flourishing. People were out in the stores again, and then Corona came and the online business was pushing, and currently a lot of people don't go to retails anymore. So I think retail needs to be exciting, different, bring an added value. You should not be just walk in, get the product, walk out. It needs to be more educational. It needs to be more experience based. It's working a lot on this.
Yes.
So that's also why, because I mean, I was just with my wife at the Zurich store, and I told her before, I kind of warned her a bit before. I was like, it looks like an Apple store in a way, right? I mean, it's like, you know, you have a lot of space. There's space between products, like the products are almost pristine on pedestals, and in the end it's soap. And she's like, really? And then we went, and I mean, it's really like you feel like, okay, so something special is happening here, right? Like there's like I guess the magic is a bit designed into the place, and also into the history of the place and so forth. Like so that was very conscious in the end. I mean, my first thought also as like a business person maybe was like, but no way this is like making money at this. So what's the thinking behind these like soap stores that almost feel grandiose, not in a negative way at all, in a positive way, in terms of like, wow, okay, I guess I need to care about my soap. Yeah.
No, but this is the topic that I think about from minute one to when I wake up to when I fall asleep, because we're working on the emotional aspect of our brand, and it has not. Also through this topic of honesty, I've been very rigid on how we communicate, so we don't show pictures that are not true with the brand. And if you don't have the plantation and things to show, then it's a bit tricky. But we are far in on a amazing next step where you will, like Johan said, it's going to be more of an immersive experience to enter the store. You're not going to think Apple, and you're going to understand that it's a natural product. That's important. We don't want people to have to read through our text to understand what we're doing, and you need to like experience this in a visual and in a sensoric way with scent and hearing. The moment when you get someone attached through a memory or through a experience, this is where we actually get this the loyalty of a customer also.
I mean, my wife's comment was, okay, that's actually a place I would like to go fill on my soap, which is an interesting thought as well.
Yeah.
But like the one emotion that you want people to feel, maybe in the new store concept, like what is the one word, like the emotion you would like them to feel when they come in?
Welcome. So really, it's not too stiff, so you feel like you're maybe dressed wrong to enter. It's not too. It's not shabby, so you feel like, this is not according to my standards that I experience for this product. It's just like not a homecoming, but like, hey, you're welcome and try it out, and you can come back later if you don't know yet, or refill, and you can refill. You don't have your bottle with you, but just take your water bottle and fill this up, and have you experienced the new scent, like all these things, but also in a visual and in a sensoric way. So we have store staff there, but they should not be like a wall between you and the products. You should be able to use them when you need it and when not. So this is something that we are working on many planes, also with the new factory, which has been a very long and energy draining project also in many ways, because planning and moving a factory whilst growing the company and producing and doing it every day. That's we notice now that we have actually landed there, that took a lot of our energy the last few years. There we are starting to really feel this welcome feeling. People come in and they just, because this is also an open and transparent place to visit. We had yesterday we had a seated dinner for 20 people after a full factory tour and a scent schooling. They don't want to leave, and it is a good thing. It's we have long conversations. We have you can show everything. It's transparent. You have the visual into the production or into the lab or into the offices. So it's a this is what we're aiming for.
So this welcome almost being a part of it when you come in.
It's
you
going
kind of
to
feel
be
homey. Yeah.
this product is going to be a part of your everyday life at your
Right.
most intimate place and on your body. You should feel like it comes from somewhere where you are actually also part of. Like you're welcome in the stores, in the factory, or where we produce with our team, and then you take part of that welcome home to you.
I think a lot of stores which are in the higher end are very, it's a big threshold to enter. You almost feel
Yes.
then you almost feel that you're watched going into the store.
Yes.
This is important for us. And then also transporting nature in the store
Yeah.
and give an experience. If it's customization, if it's then a different way of refilling, or more practical way of refilling, or a more service way of refilling, then this will be there. So we're working on this.
At the end of the podcast, we always let the guest choose a challenge for the people who are listening. Can
Wow.
be something small they do once, or something larger they can do every day, or like just something what comes to mind. You can also do one each, however you want.
Yeah, I have an idea. But,
Go for it.
maybe to challenge yourself and consider, while the 20-second washing hand ritual, like first of all, trying to understand what it is inside the product that you use and what it, like, it's a lot for 20 seconds, but what is inside the product, what does it do to me, and what do I do to nature when I let it out through the drain? And hopefully it's something good. Hopefully it's actually some product that you feel like, okay, this is fine. And if it's not, maybe like, what could I do to make this a bit better?
So it's almost like with food, when you are eating a meal, that you're kind of thinking about, where does this come from?
Yeah.
What am I actually eating versus just kind of swallowing it, or here in that case, to just like, you just wash your hands and then
Yes. I mean, when you go and pick up your takeaway over lunch, I know a lot of people look at the menu. They, if they eat meat, they look, okay, it's from Switzerland. Sure, then I'm fine. If it's not from Switzerland, maybe they go for the vegetarian version. In that sense, like, start to think about what is it actually that. I'm not saying to not use the soap in the restroom when you're at the train station or an office or whatever, but to start considering what it's actually that you're doing to yourself and to the environment while using that product.
So it goes back to something you both said at the beginning, right? That you had this wish for people, yourself, I guess, first, but also for people to be closer again to their environment and to kind of experience their environment in a more conscious way, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, question what's happening. I think for some reason in the textile industry, there's been a lot of discussions, and of course, it's very visible when people are sewing clothes in small places far away with bad conditions. But I think it's very important we question where does this come from what is the impact on nature? What's the impact on me? Again, the skin is the largest organ on the body. Um, it's not a nice industry.
No.
And it's very intransparent. Everything looks green, and everything has fruits and vegetables on it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's very hard to navigate, but I think try to question what you consume, because you use it every day. You use it 3 or 5 times every day. It's one of the largest consumptions we have.
Yes. If you buy a soap for your child, for instance, and there's a big green apple on the outside, then you cannot extract etheric oils from apples. So if it smells like apples, it's not natural. And that's like the start. Like a green apple symbolizes something that goes into our core, but it's not what you find in the bottle. And this is, of course, very hard for a consumer to know and to be able to navigate in the market where it's so much about emotions.
Well, especially because on the food side, we've been educated quite a bit. I mean, if I think back, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and I look at the education level of people, with what they buy and what they eat and put into their bodies. I mean, we've come a long way. And so that's maybe a similar journey that we can start with something like you suggested, with a challenge. And washing our hands is something we do every day, and we can kind of use that as kind of a quiet moment as well. And yeah, I like the thoughtfulness that you mentioned, like with the questioning, because a lot of people are kind of maybe put off by like, oh, there's kind of Nachhaltigkeit again, and like these, I hear this every day, but it's not really about that necessarily, right?
No, and also performance, I think. Do you have dry skin?
Yeah.
Maybe consider why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hanna, Johan, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very
for,
much. Thank you.
Being a part of this. It was a joy listening to you, and also the chemistry between the two of you. I can really feel it. And one thing that I want to mention as well is there is a possibility to visit. If we talk about transparency, there is possibility to visit your factory in Altstetten. You can go to your website, I guess, and find out some more there. So that's, by the way, we never mentioned it, soeder.ch. Just because in English it's not always clear if I say Soeder, and to people who don't know it yet.
Yeah.
No.
Well, anyways, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.